What's up, everybody? Sam Dog, the infamous 253, and Brendon Nelson coming at you guys to talk about our game preview and keys to winning this Sunday in Seahawks versus San Francisco 49ers, Week 8. Brendon, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Sam. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, man, definitely sucked last week with the way that we freaking, just gave up that game. And basically, we did get out coached in that game against Arizona on the defensive side, big time on that one, where we threw those three interceptions and that too. So definitely hoping for a big bounce back weekend. Now we got San Francisco coming in. They're 4-3. We're 5-1. We still don't know if we're going to get Jamal Adams back yet, which is basically killer for our defense. And we just recently made the trade for Dunlap, which we know we're not going to get him this game. But mainly, man, just what do we got to do now basically to just, bounce back? Hopefully we can bounce back, and we just got to freaking play a better game on defense with that offense we're taking on, although they do have a bunch of injuries. So what do you want to start out with first on this one, Brendon?
Well, I'm feeling pretty good about this one. I'm feeling pretty good about it. San Francisco still has a lot of problems with their team right now. They're more injured than we are. That's for sure. They still don't have Bosa. They still don't have Solomon Thomas. They're not having Debo. They're down two running backs.
Right.
So yeah, they have some real problems in San Francisco. And if you take a look at that team last year, one of their biggest strengths was their pass rush. They had a very good pass rush with Bosa and D Ford, and they're just not having these guys this year. So right away I can say, this offensive line for Seattle, which played really well against Arizona in regulation, they had a couple problems in overtime.
Yeah.
This should be shaping up pretty well for them to play really well again against the 49ers, give Wilson a lot of time to work back there, and he should be able to make good things happen against a secondary we know that is missing Richard Sherman and isn't the secondary that we saw last year.
Yeah, but Jason Verrett, the former Charger that's been injury prone most of his career, is now for once staying healthy, and he's actually been playing pretty darn solid. So that's one matchup I'm anxious to, see with him being on most likely DK Metcalf or Tyler Lockett. So Jason Verrett's the one threat. And then, of course, they still got the linebacker Fred Warner, which Warner was wreaking havoc in that game last week for them against the New England Patriots, with having one of the few Cam Newton interceptions. And then also, is Greenlaw playing, or is he hurt?
I'm not sure what we're going to get with Greenlaw yet. I'm not sure exactly what's going on there, but you're right. Fred Warner might be the best middle linebacker in the league right now. He might be making the All-Pro team this year, so he is special. They still have good players on that 49ers defense, but they have problems. They have problems, and those are problems we should be able to exploit. I'm looking for us to maybe utilize more of a mid-passing attack this time. One thing that's gotten away from us a few times this year is we've tried to go for the kill shot a little too much. We've tried to go for deep shots a little too much.
Yeah.
And that almost cost us the game against the Cowboys, almost cost us the game against the Vikings. So I want to see some versatility in this offense. I want to see us go to more of a mid-passing game, maybe bring back the screens, which were working really well in the first part of the season. And to me, we all know how good Russell Wilson is, and he had his problems last week. He had some real problems last week. He did. But we know what he is. We know what he does. We know what he's capable of. I'm not thinking that he's going to have two bad games in a row. He usually doesn't. I'm thinking he's going to do what he needs to do this week to make sure he performs this time and gets this win. So, yeah, I'm just feeling pretty good about this game.
Yeah.
I don't know yet if we're going to have Carson, but
yeah, that's some concern is the running backs being injured too. But I kind of would like to, like we should have done. I know I've said it in your streams that really in the last game, we really should never have ran it 3 straight plays in a row. Like one of those plays me and my dad were talking about, we should have at least done a dump off to either Olsen or Disley, man, our tight ends, like get our tight ends like more involved. Do you see this maybe as a game where we get the tight ends more involved this week too, with Olsen and Disley and possibly Hollister?
I mean, well, possibly, yeah. That's kind of what I'm saying when I say we want more of a mid-passing attack, something that isn't just all or nothing. But at the same time, our receivers have been absolutely killing it. I mean, Tyler Lockett just had the best game by any receiver in Seahawks franchise history, probably. Metcalf had 2 touchdowns against Minnesota. Our receivers have been killing it, and those guys are way more dangerous to a defense than Greg Olsen and Will Dissly.
Yeah.
I like those guys, but I don't want to forget about who the real playmakers are in this defense.
Yeah, we all know who the real playmakers are on the 49ers defense too. And then also the offensive side, we can't sleep on the 49ers. And I did a preview with a friend of mine who's a 49ers fan. He said to look out for that running back, Hasty. Hasty looked pretty good against the Patriots and in the last couple of weeks. We know they lost Jeff Wilson Jr. They lost Raheem Mostert to IR. And did McKinnon get hurt as well?
I think McKinnon might be coming back this week, actually, so he was hurt.
Yeah, so the running game, we know they're going to still try to run the ball, which one of their big attributes. And then obviously there's still the big matchup of obviously trying to shut down George Kittle, obviously the best tight end in the game right now, who's still putting up monster numbers. And then there's Brandon Ayuk from Arizona State as well. And then, of course, there's Eastern Washington University alumni Kendrick Bourne at receiver too. You still got to look out for him. It's like the secondary, we can't afford to be playing too much more of the zone coverage, like 10 yards off of like receivers. I mean, Trey Flowers, being on DeAndre Hopkins last week was just killing us, man. I mean, we got to at least be playing more closer instead of this zone coverage, you know? I mean, I know I've been complaining a lot with how Ken Norton Jr. has been doing with the scheme of our defense. So it's like we need to play more tighter coverage, you know, much like what the Rams are doing with their secondary too, with all the bat downs and stops they've been doing on receivers too. It's like, can we at least possibly do more of that against the 49ers receivers on our defense this time? And plus, the only problem for us is on our secondary is we may possibly most likely not have Shaquille Griffin with his concussion and hamstring injury. And we all know we need Jamal Adams. And I'm still waiting to hear on that if we're going to get him this week.
All right. Well, the secondary will play better when the pass rush allows them to. That's kind of my perspective on it.
Yeah.
You're not going to have a good time in your secondary if you can't get to the quarterback at all. And the numbers speak for themselves against Arizona. We got some pressures on Kyler, but not nearly enough. And the pressures we got were not having a big impact on the way he was playing the game.
And we didn't record a sack.
Well, the only big impact pressure we had that I can remember on Kyler was on the 4th and goal, where we managed to get him to retreat about 20 yards before he threw it away, basically. So to me, we're getting Rasheem Green back this week, maybe.
Hope so.
Alton Robinson should play more. He basically didn't play against Arizona because they wanted to use Shaquem as a QB spy. Then you have Carlos Dunlap. He's obviously not going to be a factor this week, but next week we'll talk.
Yeah, about him.
So I'm really looking to Rasheem Green particularly to do something impactful this week against the 49ers, because he was the guy I was kind of counting on to be our breakout pass rush star.
Yeah.
And obviously it didn't happen yet, but now is his opportunity, because there's not a lot going on up front on the Seattle Seahawks defensive line that's good. So I'm looking for Rasheem Green to make some kind of difference.
Yeah, we need Green to start being big-time USC muscle that we've had in the past from last year, you know? I mean, because I've always told Green, show us that USC muscle before games, and we need him to get back to doing that. And then Jaron Reed's going to need to have a big game too with, you know, getting pressure, and we need to at least get some sacks on Jimmy Garoppolo. We gotta hit Jimmy Garoppolo, and we gotta make him throw interceptions, you know, because we know he still has an issue with throwing interceptions. And his ankle is looking a lot better now, which is another concern, though, too. We know Jimmy Garoppolo is looking a lot healthier now on that leg, because the last times, you know, prior to the Patriot game, he wasn't been able to plant that ankle clearly, you know, because of his ankle injury earlier in the season. So we know Garoppolo is going to be healthy, but it's going to be a matter of getting pressure, which obviously we need that pass rush to do it. And then we got to at least force him to make errant throws, and we got to pick him off and capitalize on San Francisco's mistakes and cash them in. We got to cash in on San Francisco's mistake. Plus, we have a chance, and I know I've said it in your streams before, we have a chance to basically slam the door on their playoff hopes with the gauntlet they're going through, because we all know they got Green Bay coming off of a short week after us this week, and then it doesn't get any easier with them because they have to go to New Orleans after that, followed by they have to play the Rams again, and then they have to go to Buffalo. Then they have to take on the Buffalo Bills. So we have a real chance here this week to slam the door on their playoff hopes.
Yeah. And That's definitely a concern because we're going to get everything that they got. They are on a 2-game winning streak. They are probably feeling pretty decent about themselves right now because the bad losses they had earlier are in the rearview mirror. But we're going to get everything they got, and at the end of the day, I don't really care what they come out there with, and I don't really care who we don't have. We might not have Carson, we might not have Travis Homer, we might not have Jamal Adams. We might not have Shaq Griffin. We don't know exactly how things are shaping up for the injury report, but with with the problems that the Niners have had so far this year, with the players they have lost, with the way some of their players are playing, like Garoppolo's not playing that well. He came back from his injury, and he's gotten a little better now that he's had a couple of weeks to heal up from that injury. He's playing a little better, but he's still not playing great. That we should just be able to find a way to do some positive things. And after what happened to the defense against Arizona, where they again gave up 500 yards and gave up a 10-point lead in the final few minutes, I just hope that the players and the coaches went into this off week thinking to themselves, we're going to do whatever we need to do in practice this week to find a way to do something a little better. We all saw how mad Bobby was after that Arizona game because he knew that he didn't play well and he knew that his defense was a big part of the reason why we lost. So hopefully they take that to heart and come out and do something different on Sunday.
That's what I'm saying. We better be fucking going into this game pissed, man. We gotta freaking go in mad and just take this shitty ass loss last week on Arizona out on San Francisco and basically just slam the door on their playoff hopes.
Yeah, and I feel good about it. We have a big advantage at the QB position, and that should manifest itself. Russell Wilson was honestly outplayed by Kyler Murray last week, but that
Yeah.
usually doesn't happen. I I'm confident that he's going to find a way to outplay Jimmy Garoppolo this week, and that's a big chunk of the battle right then and there. If you can win the QB battle, you're probably going to win the game.
Yeah, and let's also be honest. In the last game, my dad and I were talking. We did get outcoached defensively. Let's also be real with that. With the plays that Arizona's defense made, we got outcoached, and you got to give them the props for the plays they made. They really in that game outcoached us too.
Yeah, that happens in a lot of games, quite frankly. But usually, usually when you have a 10-point lead with 3 minutes left, you would usually expect to win that game.
Yeah.
That's what really gets to me about that one.
Same here.
But we weren't going to go undefeated. We weren't going to go undefeated. I never thought we were going to go undefeated. I don't think anybody was really thinking that.
Me neither.
But we can't afford to go 0-2 in the division. That's what I know. So
Fuck no.
if we lose this game, it will be panic time.
It will.
And it will be panic time. You will probably see a last-second trade for the team before the deadline. And, yeah, that's really all I can say about this one. I feel pretty good about it. If Carson's not out there, then maybe we have to pass a little bit more. That's fine by me.
Yeah.
That's playing to the strength of the team. That's letting Wilson go and try to redeem himself from what he did last week. And, look, as bad as this defense has played, every week is an opportunity for those guys to get a little better.
Yeah.
So –
yeah, but I gotta say, let's get the tight ends more involved. I would like to see us get Olsen and Disley more involved this week. I would love nothing more than that. If we would have gotten them involved in those final few plays where we should never have ran it 3 plays in a row near the end of regulation, we could have, we should have been like, we were too conservative right there. My dad was telling me we need to be more aggressive on that too. I mean, and I think a good way this week to get back on that is I think we should try to get Olsen and Disley more involved this week.
Yeah, I mean, in general, I do want to see us get Will Disley involved more because he's getting healthier with every week, and his ability to help this team is going up with each week. And he may very well supplant Greg Olsen as the lead tight end in this offense before long. I like Greg. I think he's made some pretty good plays for us. I don't have a problem with Greg.
Greg's been consistent for us. He's been pretty good for us. I'll be honest with you. He's been good.
Yeah, but Disley has a much higher upside at this point in their careers. And once Disley is 100% healthy, I really want to see him out there more.
Yeah.
But at the same time, against a team like Frisco, which doesn't have the best cornerbacks right now and does have good linebackers, namely Fred Warner, you might want to just attack the weaknesses. And the weakness right now may very well be at cornerback.
Yeah. Which is going to mean a lot of DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett and David Moore. And hopefully, maybe, I would like to see us get like I said, I know I'm a little hyped about, the young speedster we drafted out of Florida and Freddie Swain, getting him a little bit involved in the slot too. That would be huge too. I mean, get him in the slot on some short passes for some big chunk plays if he can get it, along with the tight ends too, like you were mentioning early, like we were mentioning early. That's another thought I've kind of had a bit too.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much going on in this offense. I'm not really thinking about Freddie Swain. I could see him catching a pass a game, but I'm not really thinking about him. I mean, Josh Gordon, he's got to come back eventually, right? I know
Yeah.
we're all waiting for that. Josh Gordon's got to come back. And once Josh Gordon comes back, Swain might go down to the practice squad. So I'm not really thinking about him too much. But yeah, I don't really care who we throw the ball to at the end of the day, as long as passes are completed. So
Yeah, no doubt.
I think that's really all we can say about this game. I know San Francisco has looked good the last two games, but that is a wounded and heavily flawed team. And if you want to be a Super Bowl contender, this is probably the kind of game you need to win.
Yeah. And all our wins so far this year have come against sub 500 teams. I mean, we need to beat teams with winning records. And I mean, we probably should have done it last week. I mean, we failed to do that. This is the week we got to freaking do it. This next few weeks of games is going to show what kind of team we got. And I know I've talked about it with my dad a lot. And trust me, my dad was telling me these next four games here is going to show us what kind of team we got. The best we have to try to possibly do is maybe 3-1 in this next stretch of games. 3-1 in these next stretch. And another thing I've also been mentioning is if we want to win the NFC West, I mean, obviously we're going to have to win non-division games too, but the best we're going to have to do along with winning those non-division games is go 4-2 in the division games. And that should hopefully win us the NFC West. If we were to go 4-2 in the division, as in sweep the 49ers, possibly split with the Rams and split with the Cardinals. That's one of the ways I've been looking at it too, and what my dad and I have been discussing. Do you kind of agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, the schedule is very much in our favor. The other teams in this division have tough schedules the rest of the way. We have one of the softer schedules. This is where not winning the division last year actually does play to our advantage. We don't have to play the Packers like the Niners do. We don't have to play the Saints like the Niners do. So little edges like that are going to help us. We get to play that stretch of the 49ers have kind of already gotten to play their bottom feeder opponents because they played the Jets and the Giants back to back. So we still have that stretch ahead of us, along with the Eagles, who still don't really look like a good team, even though they did win a game the other week. We still get to play the football team, which I don't think they're a very good football team either. So yeah, things are definitely still in our favor, even with that loss to Arizona.
Yeah, but the key thing is we're going to have to win those division games and beat those teams with winning records. Because remember, we still got to play Buffalo next week, and then we got to play the Rams the following. So we're in our gauntlet too. We're in a tough gauntlet too. So
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I agree with that. It's going to be tough to win these games. These are not easy games. But once we clear this gauntlet, even if we're not in first place at that point in time, things are still in our favor because we have a lot of soft games to end the season.
yeah, and we're going to need the Rams to start dropping some games too. Big time. Definitely need the Rams to drop some games.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, that pretty much sums up what we have to talk about. Brendon, thank you once again for coming on and doing this with me. I love the new cap. I was watching the video before that. That was pretty cool that Cop Pizzle did that for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I said, this hat was given to me by my friend Brian's brother or cousin, Corey. He had this customly made for me. Obviously, it's a retro hat, and he had the little beads thing, put the Sam dog on there, and then the 12 right there.
Yeah, cool.
That's why when I messaged you asking you to wear your hat in the video, I thought, I put this baby on too, so we can show our hats off. All right.
All right, man.
All right. Thank you all for coming on and tuning in. Also, give us your thoughts too. Make sure you also go subscribe to Brendon Nelson too. And if you're new, sub up my channel. We're at 1,078 right now on my channel, close to that 1,080 mark. Trying to get to my first 1,100. And appreciate all you guys that have supported us over our time doing this. And let's do our best. Try to go get this dub and try to go on with trying to keep up our momentum or try to get our momentum back and bounce back. Anyway, till the next one, You ain't with it. You ain't infamous. And as always, go Seahawks.